Welcome back to Against the Cage, your home for all the latest in MMA news. I'm Jake Aryeh, here with my esteemed co-host Scott Fontana. Our colleague Eric Richter is indisposed at the moment, but we're going to give you a quick reaction video because the UFC White House card has just officially been announced after we have been eagerly awaiting that news for months now. We finally have the bouts on it. The main event will be Ilia Topuria, the lightweight champion, defending his title against interim champion Justin Gaethje in
Well,
the co-main
unifying
event,
that title, really.
unifying that title. And in the co-main event, we have Alex Pereira going up to heavyweight to face former interim champion Cyril Gane. So maybe he'll be able to get two of those ones. And then we've also got a few other bouts on there as well that we will get to in a moment. We'll show you the bout order so you can see all of those. Notably absent from the card are Jon Jones and Conor McGregor. We'll touch on that in a bit, perhaps. But Scott, I just want to ask you, what was your instant reaction to the announcement as a whole? What are your first thoughts on this?
Well, like if I'm gonna go back to at least the way I was thinking going into this process as we kind of advanced for over the last couple weeks, right? It's not that surprising because I literally wrote a column in January after Justin Gaethje's victory that this really made a lot of sense as the headliner for the White House card. Here we are, and it's actually come to pass. So, Mystic Fontana, is that what it is? I don't know. No. But now that we got closer, obviously, there had been obviously some signs that seemed to be pointing. Maybe it was just people having playing games. Maybe it was just people having a little fun. I don't know. Signs seem to be pointing in the direction of possibly Jon Jones getting on this card, defying the 1,000,000 to 1 odds that Dana White had laid out for him back in August, and maybe fighting Alex Pereira, because obviously we saw the belt had been vacated off of Pereira last week, and a new vacant title was going to be created. And it was like, well, what's going to happen, right? We talked about this. It's got to be for a title. Like, it's got to be heavyweight, right? And it made sense. And John certainly made sense. We heard all those rumblings about, oh, Charles Oliveira doesn't think it's going to be Cyril Gane. Well, obviously, either he was playing a game or he just didn't know what he was talking about. I lean toward a game there. But yeah, so there was certainly a lot of question marks of whether it would be him. I never believed, and I think I've got several episodes of this that Conor McGregor was ever going to be on this card. There's just too many factors at play. So I'm not that surprised about that. I think it makes a lot of sense. So what about you? What's your takeaway, Mr. Jake?
I was definitely a little bit surprised that John wasn't on there just because everyone kept saying like that was really the narrative that was being pushed. Like it was all but certain that this was going to be it. However, when they did say that it was going to be Ilia Topuria and Justin Gaethje, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Well, it can't be John.
Yeah, I can't if yeah. So and then as far as the co-main event, it had never really occurred to me that the heavyweights would be below the lightweights, but obviously when you've got an undisputed belt rather than an interim belt, that one takes precedent, of course.
And Topuria is a star in his own right too, not for nothing. And Gaethje being an American too, vying for it. He's the only of the four title contestants here who's from America, from the United States. Very proud of that, flag waving and all. So it makes a lot of sense to put him up there. I think it's a lot easier to tout that for Freedom 250, right, as they're calling this event.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get a little bit deeper into, I guess, this main event, the announcement itself, I was honestly kind of expecting a little bit more pizzazz in it, like some sort of package at least. I was a little bit surprised when it was just here's the bout order. Like I was kind of expecting some sort of promotion, or were you not surprised by that?
I'm not surprised, MFer. This is just kind of the way things are done. Right? Once they were gonna put it on the broadcast, like that was game over. I think we said the other day in our most recent episode, or maybe I was just talking with you guys off air, but I kind of suspected it was going to be a situation where they would do, one of these big announcements on the Friday before, on the weigh-in day, like later in the day. Did not come to fruition. It came out. He was going to do it on Saturday. So I was like, okay, this is kind of how it's done. They're not gonna take 20 minutes to do something bonkers during their event. And for pacing wise, they actually value that, and I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just talking a little bit more about this main event itself, how happy are you with Ilia Topuria, Justin Gaethje for this White House card? Do you think it is worthy of the biggest card of the year, as they have been saying?
Yes and no. This is a little bit of couch question answer here, right? It makes a lot of sense. I think for a lot of reasons, you've got an American who's trying to become a champion on the White House lawn. There's a lot of, all that national pride and that kind of thing going on here, and it is against a giant star in Ilia Topuria, but also. As our resident betting expert, Erica, who just couldn't be able to join us in time for this one, would probably point out the odds are pretty stacked already in the favor of Ilia Topuria here. The line is kind of prohibitive already. I think it was like minus 500 or something like that from like AG. And yeah, I don't know how much it's gonna do other than maybe like, hey, hopefully he wins. And it's not looking great, obviously, but you never know. Can't count the guy out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a heavy hitter, and these guys like to throw hands. So we'll see what happens there. I do think that, yeah, like you said before, Ilya is a huge star. We've got a flag waving American in the main event. So I think for America 250, this is certainly a fine main event. How do you feel about getting to this co-main event, Mr. Alex Pereira moving up to heavyweight? Finally, it's not for an undisputed title. Tom Aspinall still holds the claim to that. Um, he has the chance to get a third belt in a third weight class, though. I mean, do you think that this sort of is the same thing? An undisputed would be kind of obviously a little bit better, but what do you think? The fact that he might be able to get three belts in three different divisions.
Yeah, obviously there's that little bit of it's just an interim title, but I mean it would be incredible if he goes up there and he defeats Surreal Gone because there's a lot of people who saw Surreal Gone look pretty good against the undisputed champion back in October for the brief duration of that fight. Like right, there's probably some people who would say, yeah, he ought to be considered essentially the number one heavyweight in the world right now. So if he goes out there and he beats him that doesn't really matter what this belt is called. I think people will still see him as a very legitimate heavyweight title holder. You certainly want a unification to happen, and it would have been pretty okay, honestly, if it was John Jones, even from a competitive standpoint, because John retired as the champion. There's certainly a claim to that championship as well. So, fight fans lose here quite a bit as well. But I do think this is a fun fight. I think there's a very real chance this is an extremely interesting fight. I could also see it being a little more of a tepid kickboxing bout from time to time. Both of these guys know how to drag it out a little bit. Frankly, Pereira is the much better credentialed striker. He's not going to be quite as big as Surreal Gone, but he's not going to be small either. So I'm very curious to see how this fight actually plays out. I think we've got two title fights that have the potential to truly entertain as well, and that's a key part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as strikers go at heavyweight before Pereira moved up, Cyril Gane was, pretty top of mind as far as the people who would be at the top of that list. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does Cyril Gane come from kickboxing or Muay Thai? Are these guys both coming from kickboxing background?
Well, it's really more Muay Thai, I guess, but I mean his level at Muay Thai was not remarkably, or it was not remotely, excuse me, close to that of Alex Pereira.
A
It was
Glory
it
World
wasn't
Champion.
remotely the same. So MMA is a different sport, right? But it's not like he's going against a fighter in Surreal Gone who's very likely to take this down and make this some sort of ground battle. This is the type of opponent that, frankly, Pereira could. Oh, I don't think he's installed as the favorite, but I would be surprised if the line didn't come a lot closer together. And just to give a little bit of the betting angle in because we don't have Eric with us here. We're thinking of you, dude. But yeah, I like the fight. I do. I like both of these fights. I just think it's going to be a good time. If this isn't as extravaganza as kind of had been built up over these last, you know, 8 months or so since we started hearing about this from the president back on the 4th of July. And yeah, so it doesn't have that, right? We're not talking about 5, 6 title fights like John Jones or excuse me, John Anik. When I spoke to him earlier this year, I'd kind of hoped, and it sounded like he was really tempering the expectations that had been put out there by President Trump, and now we had to kind of rein that in, and now it's much more reined in, probably in part two because we only have 6 fights on here. It's obviously they've lowered the scope, and you got to understand that to some degree.
100%. And I like you mentioning about the fact that this fight's probably not going to be going to the ground. However, I do feel like, Pereira's been training with Glover Teixeira. Could he have the advantage in the striking and the grappling? Like, I guess that bodes pretty well for Mr. Alex Pereira.
I think he really potentially could have both of those advantages. I don't know, but he's not going to have the size of a Surreal Gun. He is
Sure.
going to be smaller to at least some degree. I wonder if Gon might even add some size between now and then. Pereira could as well, frankly. I mean, this is somebody who's never been very small either. Maybe he's comfortable adding a little bit of weight too. I mean, I've talked to him over the years about the notion of that. And I don't know that he's ever going to try and bulk up, but maybe he'll just allow himself to be more comfortable and not really be like, well, I've got to make sure I got to get down, which can be a double-edged sword, right? If he's not training as hard in that kind of way to try and manage the weight, maybe he's not going to fight the same way too. So there is an interesting dynamic there as well.
100%. Very much looking forward to that one. Scott, I'm going to read out the rest of the card over here. We've got Sean O'Malley taking on Eamon Zahabi, Mauricio Hufi versus Michael Chandler, Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins, Diego Lopez versus Diego Garcia. I want to ask you, out of those four fights, which one of those sticks out the most to you?
Honestly, I'm kind of interested in the Kyle Dawkins versus Bo Nickel battle. It's the Battle of Pennsylvania on Pennsylvania Avenue, which I
I didn't
think is
even
pretty
think about
neat.
that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is really it's very interesting to me, and I think they're actually well matched up for where they ought to be. You've got somebody in Kyle Dawkins who's been starting to show off the real power in his hands, but is also he's the Darce Knight, right? He's got that Darce choke in him. He knows how to lock that up even when the hands are doing the work to set that up as well. And he's going against somebody in Bo Nickel who, we haven't quite seen the development of the striking go uh, to the level I think people would hope. We saw some signs in New York when he got that victory, the same night that Kyle Dawkins did as well, by the way. So they're on the same timeline there. I like it. I think it's interesting, and I do think it has the potential to bring out the best in both of these men. I think it's a really good booking.
Yeah, absolutely. For me,
What about you? Where are you going to? What's the one that jumps out of you?
I'm just excited. First off, it's a great fight, Michael Chandler versus Mauricio Hufi. But like, I'm just honestly happy for Michael Chandler. The fact that he got strung along for such a while on that Conor McGregor fight, and like, there were obviously rumors that Conor and Chandler were going to happen at the White House. At least both of them were, kind of calling for that one and trying to push that one out. Conor's absent, Chandler's on there still. And there's not a lot of fighters who are going to be able to fight on this one, so it's nice that he got the nod for that one. But I mean, come on, that fight's going to be good anyways.
It's nice for him that yes, there's a consolation prize here in that yes, he didn't get that Connor fight that he basically wasted several years of his career on. Or maybe he's also allowed himself to get fresh too. I don't know. It depends how he wants to look at it. He seems like a generally positive and trying to be positive kind of guy. So there is that. Hopefully he can just latch on to, hey, I'm getting a fight at the White House. There's only 12 people who get to do this. I'm one of them. And I think he should be happy about that. But also at the same time, it's like this is definitely not what he had in mind entirely. So yeah, you feel a little bit for the guy. But yeah, you're right. It's gonna be a fun fight. I don't know. It's gonna be very friendly on Michael Chandler's chin though, which has been getting checked quite a bit in recent times. And Mike Mauricio Hoopy's certainly got uh, the ability to do that.
He looked really good in his last fight, so we'll see what happens there. I will say I want to get your thoughts on this Sean O'Malley versus Eamon Zahabi matchup, because I mean, Sean O'Malley, one of the biggest stars in that division, if not the sport. And he's fighting someone who's a little bit lower ranked than him. It kind of seemed like Sean, now that Piotr Jan is the champion again, that could have been a next step after maybe the rematch with Merab Dvalishvili for that belt. What do you think about this matchup in terms of the division? He's kind of risking a lot facing Mr. Zahabi.
He is, but I do think there's actually an element of that that's kind of a sign of good faith here. If he does go out there and win this in this spot in a fight that he probably didn't really need to take, I think the UFC will certainly look kindly upon that. And yeah, I mean, look, in theory, we don't know when Piotr Jan's gonna come back. They love these interim title fights. Maybe they're gonna make another one, and maybe it'll end up being Sean O'Malley against God. I don't think it would be Merab Dvalishvili, but it could be somebody else. I don't know. You never know what the UFC does things they want to do because they want to get them done, and that's the kind of thing that goes on here. But yeah, if he ever wants, especially a third crack at Merab Dvalishvili. I think he's got to do things that certainly put him in the good graces a little bit of the UFC, and this has to be one of them. And also, I mean, I'm sure he's thrilled to fight on the White House lawn as well, so he gets a cool opportunity out of it too. And I think it's hard. You probably didn't have to twist the arms of too many Americans to get on this card, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like we've gone through most of this one. Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I think there's going to be a lot of negativity thrown at this event in the coming days, but and because of mismanaged expectations along the way. But at the same time, I'm happy enough with it. I think for what it is, it'll be an interesting card. It's gonna be weird that it's on a Sunday. We haven't had a Sunday event in quite some time. I can't even remember the last one. And yeah, I mean it's obviously an incredibly unique opportunity that I'm very curious to see how it actually plays out. And now we know what fights we're getting. Maybe even one more. Dana keeps saying there might be one more.
That is true. They did say 6 to 7. We've got 6 right now, although last night Dana did say that a fight fell through, so
He said one fell out, so yeah, who knows?
we will see.
Did
Alrighty,
you just say
Scott.
we had 6 to 7 and then you did 6-7? I just
I
noticed
did
that.
not mean to do that on
Yes,
purpose.
you
I
did. Yes, you
promise.
did.
No, I did not.
All the kids in my kids' grade are gonna know that. They're gonna be like, "Oh, look at
Oh,
this guy! He left the 6-7 for
dang.
1."
Yeah, they're gonna be like, dude, your dad's podcast buddy is a freaking loser, man.
No,
Um,
well, yeah, they'll either like you or hate you.
yeah, exactly. All right, Scott, I think that is it for me. Is that it for you as well? We done?
I think it is, but we definitely got to talk more about this. I think in our episode this coming week, once we get Eric back in the fold and we can get his thoughts. We got to know how box office this is. We need Eric's opinion on this one.
Yes, absolutely. And if you guys are curious to know a little bit more about the event and how it will run, we've got another video up on the channel that I just posted. So go ahead and check that out. That was the special video that I've been teasing in our previous episode. But Scott, I will see you and Eric in the next episode of Against the Cage. Looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. I'm gonna watch Oliveira and Holloway right now because they're walking out.
Okay, alrighty. Enjoy the fights. Bye, Scott.
Take care, all.